So I was sat down the other day, cleaning all my camera gear, staring longingly at this half-split rubber eye cup that I've been meaning to replace for so long, when it actually dawned on me that I've owned this camera, the K3, for coming up 3 years now. So time flies when you're having fun, there's the proof. And this camera was the camera that prompted me to actually start this YouTube channel when I purchased it on a whim during those dark days that no one speaks of anymore. UK lockdown. Yes, 2020. So this is a little bit overdue, but it's going to make for a good long-term review. My long-term review on the Pentax K3. Enjoy.
I'm going to start off this review by looking back at some of the key dates and the stats before getting into my thoughts on the Pentax K3. Announced in 2013 and released in 2014, the K3 was the camera that Ricoh Pentax touted as their all-new flagship APS-C DSLR camera. This was coming off the back of the K5 II and K5 before it. The Pentax K3 had some pretty big shoes to fill. Not only that, but the digital camera market was now in decline after reaching its peak around 2010. The K3 featured a 24 megapixel CMOS sensor without any AA filter. It also featured the world's first AA filter simulator, which was designed to eliminate false colour and moire. The camera also features in-body image stabilisation. It can shoot up to 8 frames per second and has weather sealing good enough that if you wanted to, you could share the shower with your camera, if that's the sort of thing that you're into. So in all fairness, those stats are not that bad for a now nearly 10-year-old camera. And before I give my personal opinions on the K3, I'd like to ask you guys a favour. It's quite shocking what I've discovered, and it's to do with this. As I'm sat here contemplating my next impulsive gear purchase, as you do as a photographer, I'm sure many can relate to that, I'm also looking at my channel stats to see who's clicked on my videos over the last 28 days or so. And what I can see is that there's a massive percentage of you guys that have watched the videos, but you're not subscribed to the channel. Well, those numbers are pretty appalling, to be honest, aren't they? Come on man, get yourself subscribed to the channel and make sure you hit the bell icon. That way, the next time you watch one of my videos, you'll be a subscriber. Now back to this video.
The Pentax K3 wasn't actually my first Pentax camera. Having bought the K70 in 2018, coming after months of using the NX1000, frustratingly, I must say, looking at the back of the LCD screen in days like today, bright sunlight. That's what prompted me. I knew I needed a camera with a viewfinder. And I'll leave those links, the K70 video and the Samsung NX1000 video, in the description down below if you want to check those out. The Pentax K70 was a great little camera, but as I started to find my feet in photography and I got a better grasp of the things that I like to shoot, I started to find a few limitations with the K70 for me personally. Mainly, it was the battery life and the lack of customizable and on-body buttons. And that's basically what led me to buy the K3. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Pentax system, the K3 is basically what the D7100 was to Nikon, or the 70D was to Canon. It's the prosumer line of camera. It's not entry and it's not high end, it's not full frame. It's basically the top of the line APS-C DSLR that they did back in the day. So it's not really a surprise that the K3 has pretty much the same or more functionality than what the K70 does, even though there's a 3-year gap in between those two cameras. And that's actually another reason that I went with the K3 over the cameras on offer from Nikon, or Canon, is that those cameras were substantially more expensive. And I actually managed to pick up the K3 for £320 3 years ago, which I consider that a bargain. And it's actually less than what I've seen the camera going for currently on the second-hand market. So that's a little bit of a win for myself. And funnily enough, the type of photography that I was actually drawn to turned out to be fast action, which is something that Pentax is not renowned for by any means. But I did make the K3 capable of capturing this type of stuff by pairing it with faster focus lenses and using some techniques, I would say. Along the way, I managed to capture the images that I wanted to. One of the biggest draws, or features I should say, that led me to the Pentax system was the weather sealing that they put in their cameras, which is some of the best on the market and perfect for the type of stuff that I like to shoot. Outdoors, motocross, dog photography in the elements. And in the 3 years of owning the K3, it's never faulted once. It's come through like a champ. It's never even hinted of faulting. And that's not to mention the image quality, which is brilliant. Granted, it's not going to be up to a mid-range mirrorless camera, a modern day one, in terms of like low light performance. You're going to get a bit of noise in your images if you're shooting at really high ISO. But to be honest, in today's world, we have programs that can easily deal with that type of stuff. So for me personally, that isn't an issue. When it comes to the ergonomics, this camera is absolutely fantastic. And to date, it's the best feeling camera that I've ever picked up and used. All the buttons, dials, everything is in the right places. The way the grip's formed, it's just beautiful. And it's one of those cameras that you want to pick up and go out and shoot. It makes you want to do that. So the ergonomics are a 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. I know it's not possible, but it's an 11 out of 10.
So, after nearly 10 years of constant development and new camera releases, you are going to find some flaws in the Pentax K3. The autofocus system being one of them. By today's standards, it's definitely not going to be winning any awards, that's for sure. And if you're looking for a lightweight, chuck it in your man purse type of camera, this just isn't it. That's not to say that the K3 is overly heavy, but more the fact it's built to withstand World War III, should that ever happen. In summary, I think that the Pentax K3 was a camera that Ricoh put everything they had in it at the time. It had the not so easy task of following up the K5 series, as well as to sell in a declining camera market. And in my opinion, that led to one of the most underrated crop censored DSLR cameras ever made, the Pentax K3. As always, thanks for watching, and if you found this video interesting, got any value out of it, or just liked it in general, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel, it really helps me out.